Today we'll be talking about African foodways from two different places. First we have Nigeria, and then we have Zimbabwe. So get ready for the ride and let's explore foodways together. First, we're gonna hear from Ore, who's from Nigeria.
I was born in South Carolina, but I am Nigerian, and I did spend most of my time growing up in Nigeria.
So the first question I want to ask, what was the main dish that was cooked? And then after you tell me that, could you walk me through how to make this dish and the ingredients involved?
Our main food, really not the main food, but like what people eat a lot, like it's easy to make, is rice, and they eat it a bunch of different ways. But we eat a lot of swallow and egg. So pounded yam and amala are both made from yams.
Okay.
But pounded yam, you boil the yam, then you pound it. Now there's even like they dry it, grind it into a flour, they mix it with hot water. But amala is they cut the yam, dry it, it turns like brown, like dark brown. That's how much they dry it. They just lay it in the sun because Nigeria is very sunny, and it turns brown, and then they grind it up so it's brown when you make it, dark brown. African yams, you can look it up, they're tubers and the inside is white.
But they're like large, like logs.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So that's like the main thing, and then you can make it with different kinds of soup. Any swallow can go with a lot of different kinds of soups. It just depends on your taste buds and your combination. But my favorite soup, I have one main one is called ogbono, and it's really good. I think ogbono is another kind of seed from a plant or something. Yeah, but they dry it up a little and then they grind it up, and then we use palm oil. So we start with palm oil and then add the ogbono, let it cook so it's cooked properly, and then you add we have this leaf that we use at efo, and then ugu is another kind of leaf, and we also use uziza, and uziza is a kind of leaf, but it's slightly spicy, like it's a leaf. So ugu like is the bulk of it, so you add the ugu, like you shred up the leaf and then you add that, and then uziza is like very small, and we actually add here you say okra or
okra soup.
Yes,
is that what you're about to say?
Yeah. But we call it okra.
Yeah.
So you blend up some okra and some rodo, which would be a scotch bonnet, the dark red scotch bonnet. So you blend that up, and it's just a little okra because it's not the main part, and you can make it as spicy as you want, honey. And then meat stock from whatever meat you were using, and then the beef, and you have ogbono. We also add like dried smoked fish, which is the bomb. We call the fish banla, but they dry it, they smoke it. So they take a stick and then they put the tail up the stick and then the head, so it forms into like a circle, and then they smoke that, and then you can buy it in the market literally, and then we just cut it into pieces, rinse it, and then put it, and it just adds like a huge depth of flavor for like the smoky fish and all of that. When it cooks right, it's just, everything's just perfect, and you can eat it with pounded yam or with eba, and eba is just easy to make. It's dried.
What is eba?
So eba is made from gari, and gari is dried cassava flakes, and but then if you want to eat it as a swallow, so like as a fufu, you just mix it with hot water, and literally it just turns into swallow, and that's like the fastest swallow you can ever make. So that's what people make a lot.
Oh wow.
But when it's like a party, because you asked about
I was
celebration,
just about to ask, was this dish used for any celebration?
yes, all these soups are used for celebrations, but when it's a celebration, people usually go for pounded yam, because pounded yam is my favorite swallow. It just does something to you, man. Yeah, that's my favorite food, is pounded yam and ogbono.
So what were some of the crops you saw growing and would eat? You mentioned the yam, but what else?
Well, mangoes. The Nigerian mangoes are like the cherry mango. And when you cut into it or just bite into it, because from my plan I bite into it, come on, I'm not playing, but it's like such a deep orange, like and you know how sometimes when mangoes are ripe they're still slightly tart?
Yeah.
No, these ones is just like deep layers of sweetness. Like we have another kind of fruit, it's called agbalumo in our language, but in English it's called the African star. If you cut into it the way it's cut into on Google, then you see the star shape. if it's not ripe enough, it is so tart. It feels like you're getting a slap across the face. Special thing, like a fun fact about the skin of the agbalumo is, if you, yes, I have told you
told
this.
me.
She remembers. If you chew the skin long enough, it turns into gum, like literally like chewing gum, natural gum. I'm trying to think, are there vegetables that we would just eat on their own? I don't think so much, because usually we use all our veggies for soups. So like good. Eating healthy in Nigeria, like trying to get all your greens in, is not a problem, because all our foods have like greens and stuff. So it was like always very tasty, and it never felt like I was eating vegetables. And we eat a lot of red meat, so it's like all these iron, all these nutrients and stuff. A lot of fruits. Literally, like if I wanted a fruit salad, like I wouldn't have to, like, I'll just go outside the house, cross the street, and we call them malam, and malam in language just means teacher. And there was no fruits at home, like we didn't have to go to the market, just cross the street. Malam, I want this and this, and they just cut it, and I go home with my fruit. Am I going on for too long?
So would you say you have more of a plant-based diet or a meat-based diet?
I'd say I have both.
Okay.
Because
like a blend.
Yes, I have a blend, because like I said, the soups were full of vegetables, but they were also full of meat. Like you'd have
the fish pieces,
beef, the smoked fish pieces. You'd have chicken, turkey, goat meat, gizzard. Like we'd use the whole cow or in the whole chicken, like, because the gizzards are a part of the
pork. Chicken. What do you eat?
We don't eat pork at all, actually. Where there's literally a whole tribe of people, like the northern Nigerians. They are cow farmers. And they live with their cows. They're nomads, so like they travel and they walk with their cows. So if they're moving states, their cows are moving states. So because there's like a whole big percentage of the population, because they're cow farmers, beef is cheaper in Nigeria
because there's more,
than chicken.
Do you see some of the meals that you ate back home here and at restaurants nearby? We are in Kentucky, so
no.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of African restaurants in the States, because there are a lot of Africans in the States. But if you go to Texas is like a mini Nigeria.
Wow.
Because like you go to Texas.
What part of Texas?
Dallas, Houston, Austin. You're just driving down in Texas. Nigerian restaurant here, Nigerian restaurant there, Nigerian restaurant here, Nigerian restaurant there.
Do you think African foods have had an impact on what is being eaten today?
You mean in the States?
Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of how those specifically. I don't know, I see a lot more people eating like fufu and going out of their way to buy stuff and things like that, which is good, like branching out and trying things. And like,
so do you think many restaurants are starting to adopt African dishes and ingredients?
I don't really go out of my way to like find out,
right?
Because if I see like a Nigerian dish on a restaurant's menu that I know isn't Nigerian, I'm not gonna order it. But I think so, because you're trying to branch out a lot of places. They're having like different things. Like you go to a place that's not even like really Jamaican, and they have like jerk chicken, because like they're starting to branch out, because the people are starting to branch out in their tastes. So I think that's good, but I think we have a long way to go. All these places like KFC and stuff, when they go to other countries, they adapt to the countries. Wow. So they still have like their Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is so much better than the one here, by the way. And I was so in the Nigerian KFC, the sides are jollof rice and fried rice. So like, you know how here you get like a little tub of mac and cheese, there the little tub is full of jollof rice, and they make it well. So they also adapt. So I think like the American companies in all those other nations are adapting to those nations. So
but you would say that you've seen some adoption of African dishes and whatnot. Okay. In Lexington, most likely, like cities. If
you're thinking Kentucky, then you just gotta go to Lexington. Atlanta, like places like Texas, Atlanta, like they're like, I say Nigeria specifically because those are the ones I noticed. Because
if
you go to Dallas, Texas, look for Osuma suya. So suya is a kind of grilled meat that we eat in Nigeria, and literally is the tribe that I talked about, that they're cow farmers. They're the ones that know how to make it well. Like they wake up 6 a.m. in the morning, they're marinating the meat, and they don't come out to grill it till like 7 p.m. like when it gets dark, Texas. And it's the closest to authentic suya that I've had in the States.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
We learned so much.
Wow, all those foods sound so delicious.
Well, stay tuned for the next interview.
Now we're gonna hear from Dylan Bin, who's from Zimbabwe.
So, what was the main dish that was cooked in Zimbabwe?
So the main dish that was cooked is called sadza. So it's basically like cornmeal. It's made out of cornmeal, so it's kind of like a bread, but it's not really bread. And most people eat it with veggies and some meat. So it's usually served for dinner. You got to use your hands when you're eating it. Have you ever seen fufu? It kind of looks like fufu. Yeah, we pair with a soup, or like I mentioned, some vegetables like kale and some meat.
Pork, beef, chicken, or smoked fish, like.
Most people prefer beef or chicken
Okay.
or pork and some fish too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like we don't have a lot of diversity when it comes to seafood. Like, you know, there's this native kind of fish. We call it bream.
Bream.
So, yeah, we eat that with sadza.
So walk me through how to like make this dish and the ingredients involved.
So basically what you do is you boil some water to make the sadza, and then once it reaches the boiling point, you pour some meal in it, and you just start to stir it up until it becomes thick or semi-solid. Not really solid, but you know, kind of thick. And then for the veggies, you just either fry them or, you know, boil them. And for the meat, you can grill it, you can fry it, you can boil it. It just depends on the taste.
Nice. That sounds yummy.
It is.
Was this dish used for like any celebrations or traditions, or it's just like something that's commonly cooked like you come home from school or whatever? It's made.
Absolutely. It's used for most traditions because it's been there for like centuries.
Wow.
So it's primarily served at like maybe funerals, because they eat food at funerals, or weddings, or you know, like rituals like celebrating the birth of a new baby, or you know, whenever there's something important where people gather, they eat that because most people prefer that. So it's primarily served at important events.
Sadza.
The sadza.
Yeah, like how big is it? Like bigger than your face, or like two hands together?
Bigger than my face. I would say it's as big as my face. So it's like,
and you're supposed to eat all of that in one sitting, or do you share it?
That's like your own share that you're supposed to eat. So it's a lot of it, and it's like a lot of it that most people after they eat it, they go to sleep because you just too full and you cannot do it.
So are there any other dishes that are special?
I would say there are, but my family grew up in the city, and we just didn't eat those traditional dishes because they're from other ethnic groups.
Oh, okay.
We have different
ethnic group are you in?
So I'm Shona.
Shona, okay.
And we have like 16 ethnic groups. The Shona ethnicity is like the dominant one.
The main vegetables and fruits that you saw growing there and that you would eat. I know you mentioned kale, but are there any other ones?
Like tomatoes.
Tomatoes, okay.
What
about okra?
Yeah, okra too. Most people like okra, but not me though.
You don't like it?
Yeah, it's slimy and the taste is not too good.
Okay.
Some green beans and some brown beans, some red beans, some onions.
So would you say you guys have more a plant-based diet or meat-based diet?
I would say more plant-based diet. And people eat meat probably like mostly during the dinner time. The way the food production works, most farmers find it hard raising cows and all those sources of meat, so it's kind of hard. Meat is kind of expensive, so most people stick to veggies.
And some of the meals you mentioned back home, do you see any of those meals here and at restaurants nearby?
I would say primarily in African restaurants. Yeah, I would say there are some similarities.
Like where? Like so?
I've not been to any African restaurant in Kentucky, but I've been to one in Georgia, I think.
Georgia, okay. I mean, like Atlanta, Georgia?
I think it was downtown Atlanta, yeah.
Okay. You're starting to see more of it in the U.S.?
I don't see it in Kentucky, but when I go to New York, I see some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. My last question was, do you think African foods have an impact on what is being eaten today? And do you think restaurants are starting to adopt African dishes and ingredients? What do you see?
I would like to say that from my own personal experience, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like most of the food is just derived from like European or Asian or Caribbean.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's all of my questions. Do you have anything you want to add and tell the viewers?
No.
Boy, everybody told me you could be whatever you wanna be. So I told myself I'ma be a singer, I'ma play on the keys.
I'm hungry, you're hungry.
I want if I just believe, yeah. But then over the years, everybody's telling me to find a career.